So, thank you everyone. So we started off thinking about this talk when Carl asked us a few months ago, and we thought about it long and hard, what we were going to cover. Hours of debate at night, and then we agreed on the colour scheme. Now, I didn't even know this was a colour. Does anyone know this colour? Teal, yeah, I had to Google what teal was, but I kind of liked it, so we went with teal. And then we had some more debate, and we decided something that we're really passionate about is the craft of Agile coaching. And on top of that, the swing to a coaching side of Agile coaching. So 5 years ago, very few Agile coaches I spoke to knew about coaching. Lately, we're meeting a lot of Agile coaches that all they want to do is coach. And over the next 30 minutes, we're going to explore what agility in your coaching could look like. So what are all the competencies we might need through some scenarios. So before we start, as Carl just said, this will be an interactive session. We would normally do this by getting you to run around places, but we thought just before lunch, we'll do it electronically on a poll. So you can use the QR code, or you can use the tiny URL. It's also on Twitter, as Carl said. Just a bit about myself while you're doing that, so you don't have to listen to this bit, it's fine. I'm a certified enterprise coach. I don't put it after my name if Dave's still in the room. But it does take lots of years to become one of those. It's not a 2-day course. I also served in the army for 6 years, and that's really important to me, and also put me in real good stead for the Agile work I do today.
So, my name's Helen. I'm an Agile coach, trainer, consultant, mentor, sometimes even confused, hence the title. And I've been consulting probably about the last 10 years, and I work for an organization called Ripple Rock. So hopefully that's given you enough time to be able to get your QR code or your code put in. Everyone good?
We've got it on a few more slides.
If you miss it.
If you miss it.
So first of all, what we want you to do is just spend a couple of minutes talking to your next door neighbor or maybe the group of people that's nearest you. And I want you to have a conversation about, for you, what does Agile coaching mean, okay? At the end of the time, we'll ding a bell and we'll bring you back to the room, okay? So quick conversation, what is Agile coaching? Go. Okay, so it's always great to have a chat. So call out now, nice and loud, a few things that you've discussed about what is Agile coaching. So what have we got? Don't know. Fantastic. Hopefully by the end of the next 30 minutes, that'll be a little bit clearer. Anyone else? Anyone else got anything different? Something good to put on your CV? Absolutely. Yeah? So you're trying to match it up with other definitions of coaching that you've got. Okay. So, £200 more
only
a day.
Only 200 quid a day? You want to put your prices up a bit.
Yeah, John, you need to increase that then, especially once you get some badges.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like this is the perfect talk. So a little while ago, a group of us came together for something called the Scrum Coaching Retreat. It was where a bunch of like-minded people got together in a lovely hotel in Teddington, and we got to talk about things that we were quite passionate about. Now, this group of individuals, we wanted to talk about what truly is Agile coaching. And so in our session, we came up with this definition, and whilst it does look quite long, that's generally what happens when you get 12 Agile coaches in a room. So there is work in progress to do on this.
I mean, it's a real miracle we got any definition. If you've got 12 coaches in a room, then you're going to end up with about 20 opinions.
Absolutely. So we started to pull this together, and you can actually find this on whatisagilecoaching.com, and it's something that we've continued to work on over the last couple of years and grow. Now, linked to this, we created something called the Agile Coaching Growth Wheel. And this looks at what we believed at the time and still today, what are some of the key things that we need to have in place to be an Agile coach. These include the stuff that we're going to talk about today, coaching, mentoring, being a teacher, but other things such as serving the team, serving the product owner, even advising, really also managing the ability to manage an account where you go in there as a main client. So we'll go through a little bit more of this in the end, but hopefully our talk will give you some ideas on the perspectives that we're coming from. So absolutely have a look at whatisagilecoaching.com and you'll be able to get a lot more detail about this.
Or .org.
.org, sorry.
Yeah, whatisagilecoaching.org. You'll get the slides after anyway. We'll put them on SlideShare and tweet them out, and I don't know what Carl does with them, but I'm sure he does something. So before we start, we thought we'd go through just a clear definition of what we mean by coaching, teaching, which we've also included mentoring in, and consulting. So do you want to go through coaching?
So coaching, for me, it's about helping my clients, organizations and individuals kind of like unleash their full potential. It's about the ability to help them to discover things for themselves rather than me telling them the answer.
Teaching mentoring is really about the sharing of knowledge and experience, but the difference between that and consulting, which is underneath, is that I probably don't expect people to take that as given. So I'm giving them some information, and then I may use some coaching later on in order to see if that information that I've given them is useful. Whereas consulting is much more around using my own expertise to help a client solve a problem they've got. Now, one of the challenges we have with consulting, and is why we do still prefer to coach, is that what happens when I go. So if I'm a consultant in an organization and the organization starts to rely on me, then that becomes a problem, because as soon as I leave, what I find is things go back to where they were before. So, as a test, I know there is some problems with the app or the Wi-Fi. Which role are you in at the moment?
Okay, all right, so we've definitely got some people on the Wi-Fi then, so very strong Scrum Master, Agile Coach community. Oh, interesting, we've got some others in here as well. Okay, so the good news is, test is passed.
Woohoo! Sorry, that was a bit loud.
So let's take a look at our first scenario, and in these scenarios, we're going to ask you to have a think about, would you approach it from a coach, a mentor, a teacher point of view, or are you just downright confused? So this is something that happened to me recently. We'll call this person Bob. All names have been changed to protect the identity of the individual. But when I started working with Bob, his kind of stance was, I don't need you to coach me, Helen. I just want you to tell me the answers. I don't need any of these mindset Jedi mind tricks. I just want you to tell me the answer. Okay? So I had a quandary. So what do? So let's have a look at the options. Do I coach? Do I refuse to give him the answer and work through as a coaching scenario? Do I teach him? Do I give him examples of what I've done in other organizations and let him make up his own mind? Do I consult, or am I confused? Wow, we've never seen that before. 100% teaching, give him examples.
Okay.
So for me,
it's moving a bit. Give people a bit of time, easy tiger.
It just seems so resolute, 100%. I'm so excited that we've got 100%. Okay, so we've got a little bit more of a split now. So for me, the answer is not always that simple. I truly believe that people have the answers to their questions, and really I just need them to kind of maybe go through some questions and thought-provoking exercises to try and get that answer out. So typically in this situation, and probably none of us are wrong here, my particular approach is something called the money-back guarantee. So with Bob, I asked him, how would you feel about having a 15-minute conversation? And in that 15 minutes, I'm going to use my best mind tricks on you to coach you to help you come up with that answer. If at the end of the 15 minutes, you still haven't got the thing that you're looking for, I will give you the answer and we'll talk from there. Okay? So ultimately, as a coach, I need to use multiple different techniques. It would be very easy for me to give him the answer, but next time he's going to come and expect the exact same thing to me. And like John said, what happens if I then leave that organization? Who's going to be in that position to be able to fulfill those answers for them?
But there's a few key things here. So we both use this technique a lot. I always ask this question when I get this kind of thing happen, and no one's ever not said, yeah, you can try this for 10 or 15 minutes. And secondly, how many times, Helen, have you actually had to give an answer at the end
0.
of the 15 minutes? Yeah. I think I can probably count 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's give it a go, see how you think. So we're starting to adapt our approaches. It's not about having one thing that you can work on or one competence. It's about trying to understand as an Agile coach which competency we use when. And that's the real skill of an Agile coach. We can have these things separately, but knowing when to use what is what we're trying to bring out here. So the second scenario, so we're getting a bit more complex now. So I went into a large organization who had had a consultancy. This could be McKinsey or Boston consultancy group, one of those two, both pretty much strangely have the exact same Spotify model blueprint that they like to roll out. And I was asked as an experienced enterprise agile coach to roll this out into the organization. Now, they'd done some trials before, and they'd got some Scrum teams working pretty well, but now they wanted to scale it, because it's all about scale, and also do it in full product areas for the entire part of the organization. So the options here is coach. They've been doing Agile for a while, and therefore have the answers for themselves. I just need to bring this out. Teaching, let's get back to basics and teach them what Agile really means. Consulting, I've been asked to roll out the Spotify model, so that is what I will do. That's what I've been paid for, that's what I've been asked to do. Or am I confused? I just really wouldn't know what to do in this situation.
So cast your votes now. This feels very Eurovision Song Contest.
Okay, we've got starting to get some answers. So of course we trick you in all of these things because it isn't ever just one thing that we need to do. So what I've learned over the last few years is that organizations do need some scaffolding in order to start self-organizing and work things out for themselves. That's not a bad thing. In fact, I learned it from Dave Snowden, if he's still here. And I learned it the hard way because I had the opportunity to work in an organization where they said, you can be in Agile in every way you want. You can do whatever you want. And people strived for some level of structure. It just didn't work. It crashed. So having some structure around a model that may or may not work and some common language is quite useful. So I worked with the senior product areas, what they call a tribe lead in Spotify, of the bits of the Spotify model that they thought would work for them, coached and supported them in one deep area, so one product first, got them up and running and working, and then started to work with the next area, not a cookie cutter of what happened, but as a starting point for what might work for their space. But of course, it depends. If anyone's not a certified It Depends practitioner by now, there is some people who can certify you in the audience, if you want to stand up.
There we go.
There is an extensive test. There is letters that you can put after your name, and it is an official certificate on LinkedIn, I believe. Yes. Yeah? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is a serious business. So if you want to become certified,
Geeta is the lady for you.
is the lady.
Okay, so let's take a look at our third and final scenario. So you are a hiring manager in an organization, and you have been asked to recruit for an Agile coach. And this Agile coach is going to help the teams to continually evolve over a period of time. What Agile certificates are you going to be looking for to help you to do that recruitment? So obviously there's so many of them available on the market, so John and I have purely looked at the ones that we have got between ourselves, okay? So other providers are available. So, do you feel that Certified Scrum Master, PSM or equivalent is something that you would look for? Maybe a Certified Scrum Professional, Scrum Alliance Certified Agile Coach.
So this is a slightly different poll because I'm seeing some people a bit confused before we go through it. You have to click on the item you want to move up, and then some arrows will show on the left-hand side so that you can move the certificates up and down. If you can't quite work it out, maybe speak to someone next to you who's sorted it out.
There we go.
Someone's sorted it.
So there's some Kanban ones in there. There's also ICF, but you've also got experience-based ones as well. Okay, so how are we doing? Still shuffling.
Give them a bit longer because I think
this one takes a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think what we've got there is good enough for now. So the good news is for the other groups that we've run this exercise with, they said pretty much exactly the same thing, hire on experience. So as an exercise, John and I mapped out against the coaching, teaching, consulting, and confused criteria, the certificates that we happen to have. Now, John is a bit of a Boy Scout, so he definitely does like collecting badges. So if you've got anything available, then definitely speak to him afterwards. So again, this is just our opinion. This isn't an official thing or anything like that. And in reality, this actually kicked off a bit of an argument between me and John when we were at home one night.
Do we? It's more of a fruitful
conversation.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we ever resolved it though.
No, we haven't.
So, and I think it's important in that John mainly works within the Scrum industry. I mainly work within the Kanban industry. And so our opinions on what certificates that are going to be important are completely different. And that's based upon what it is that the problem that we're solving in my honest opinion. So some of the things that we've got down towards the bottom are probably more some of those like standard informational ones. So we've got some lessons, we've got some CSMs, or the equivalents that we've got down there.
The ones where you turn up for a couple of days, you learn some useful information, but there's no validation of what you do with that information after.
Yeah.
Maybe you even pass an exam, but then there's no real validation that you do anything with that work. Whereas the ones higher up, and what we've agreed with here, there we go, is the ones near the top are the ones that the CTC, CEC, and ICF are ones where you have to show experience over many years to get them. Now, the CSM was high last time as well, which we think is interesting because it is just a 2-day course. However, it's so well known within the industry that we still see in the UK a lot of CVs that require you to have that badge just to get an interview. So it's almost a pass the recruiter type badge.
But interestingly, the CTC and CEC are showing as the second higher ones. And like John said, they literally put you through the ringer to be able to do that. And to become a CEC, you also have to have a professional designation in coaching. And that's where the kind of ACC, the International Coaching Federation, comes in. So John and I are both ICF members, and it's probably the one that I personally put a lot of value into because of the amount of work and self-reflection and growth on myself that I had to physically do. But you're kind of right. The thing that John and I value the most is that experience. We should never disregard how much experience and wealth of knowledge people bring from different organizations, especially if you're working in certain areas. Banking, finance, insurance, they definitely look for certain types of skills to be able to help them to do the job. So we're completely with you. It's about experience, it's about personal fit, and it's about how you can collaborate to be able to achieve the goals of the organization rather than the agile methods or lean methods that you're particularly selling in.
So, we want to leave some time for questions, but we just want to go through a few areas of the growth wheel as well. And remember, this is Creative Commons, so you can take that from whatisagilecoaching.org. There's lots of definitions of each of these areas. You can score yourself out of 5, and you can do it in your team to see where your gaps are and where you might want to work in later on. So, of course, we've talked about coaching before, and that's normally where I like to start. It's a core competency of an Agile coach. It really does help clients, but it's not always the answer. If the company are very new to Agile and they don't have the information, then coaching's not likely to help them. We are probably going to need to go over here to facilitate learning, doing some teaching and mentoring to help and support them, doing some facilitating to see where they are at the moment, and also some advising, so managing engagement. So this is one of my rants that I'm not going to get into too much here, but most Agile coaches I work with don't often do the basics of managing an engagement with a client. And that's why I believe some of the consultancies are really doing a much greater job in these organizations than we are at getting in, not once they're there, because that is what they do very well. Of course, there is great coaches that do this, but what I see is that this is the area that we really need to push as Agile coaches if we're going to compete with these big consultancies.
But equally, not everybody is an external Agile coach. Quite often we have homegrown people within different organizations, and so different aspects of these wheels are going to be more important to certain individuals based upon what they're doing, okay? So you may not need to have that managing an account kind of experience for that, but there's value in understanding what it is and what you can take from that particular area.
Okay, any questions?
So we saw earlier that the industry is relatively new to all these things. So you say 25 years experience, is that saying you've been an Agile coach for 25 years?
No, it's just a badge that we got off the internet. we might do maybe almost combined, if that helps.
So it was a bit of a leading question, because
okay.
the real answer is it's not necessarily 25 years in Agile coaching, but I've got 25 years of relevant experience that makes me eligible to be an Agile coach. So what would you say is relevant to, if you've done, say, coaching for a couple of years, what would you say helps you build up a portfolio that sounds credible beyond that?
I probably have a different answer to John, if I'm honest, in
In
that...
fact, she knows she does.
Yeah, I know I do. I'm trying to be polite. I don't necessarily have the experience in a lot of fields. Yeah, I have coached within vending machines, publishing, fashion, auction houses, insurance products, finance products, a whole heap of different range things, commercial finance, actuarial risk. And I don't have, like, on the ground, I've done these jobs in my past. However, as a coach and with some of these competencies on the wheel, I have the ability to learn, I have the ability to ask questions, and I understand all of the different Agile methods that are available to me, so I can pull the levers on the things that I feel are going to add most value to that organization. When they talk to me about vending machines, oh my God, have no idea how they're going to put electronic equipment together. But actually, we've got great results for them. Even things like working with the London Ambulance Service to shave how long time it used to take them 15 minutes to pick up the drugs, and we had to get it down to 12 minutes, which doesn't seem like a lot. But even doing things like that, I've got no idea, but it's about going on that journey and understanding the values, the principles and practices from absolutely all of those different methods. So I don't know if you need to have finance knowledge to work in finance. Organizations might prefer that, but I don't necessarily believe that you have to have it to be a good Agile coach.
Now, I think my answer could be controversial to some people, but I'm going to say it anyway, is that I believe the best Agile coaches I've worked with have been team members. So they know and feel what it's like to be a tester or a developer or a business analyst. They've experienced what it's like to be in an Agile team or a Scrum team. And then they've worked as a Scrum Master for some time, really understanding the dynamics of how to coach a single team, and doing some work in the organization, but focusing on a single team. And then multiple teams before even thinking about how they're going to work with an entire enterprise. Now, I love working with teams. However, what I've found over the years is that it's really frustrating because most of the challenges are way outside of the team's control. And I can make much more of a difference in an organization if I'm working with senior leadership teams who have permission to change the organizational structure. As Craig Larman says, structure leads culture. You have to change the structure in order to start changing the culture to become more agile.
I wouldn't disagree what I said. I think you do need to feel it and experience it for yourself. But you might not be a Scrum Master of a team, you might be a product owner, you might be something else.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Oh, we actually agreed.
No argument tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not on the sofa. Anyone else? No. So we're going to finish on a few notes. So if you want to know more about what we've just discussed, then I run a 2-day course that's available for auction. I think it's up to £250 at the minute. So it'd be great to earn some more money for charity. As I said, the Agile Coaching Growth Wheel is Creative Commons. Use it, give us feedback. We're always improving it. I think we're on to the 6th iteration now. So we're always improving and learning from when we use it.
Yeah, and if you happen to be in Scrum Gathering Vienna, myself and another colleague will be talking through it in a lot more detail and getting you to map yourselves on where you are and talking about how you can help to move yourselves forward. So if you're in Scrum Gathering Vienna, pop along and see me.
And I'll be doing a 90-minute meetup on Monday on the Agile Coaching Growth Wheel especially, which will be online through a meetup in Bucharest, randomly enough. So I'll send some details over Twitter for that as well. Thank you.
Thank you.